Hello, MavMind Collective, and welcome to another episode of the HypnoSales Show. Today, we're going to be understanding stage hypnosis. All right, so I've had a lot of people come up and ask me over my career about stage hypnotists, and is stage hypnosis real? And I'm going to tell you right now, it absolutely is real. There's a lot of stage hypnotists that make a living hypnotizing the audience, bringing them on stage and having them basically create a live impromptu improv comedy show right before your eyes by having them do all these crazy behaviors, cluck like a chicken. That's the common one everyone always hears. Man, that person got up and clucked like. I work with that person. Like at their corporate event, the stage hypnotist brings up people you work with. They're on stage, all of a sudden they're clucking like a chicken, really? Or they're taking off their shoe and they're using it like a phone and they're making calls in their high heel shoe or whatever. If it's a woman, if it's a man, it's like a big dress shoe or whatever, right? All these crazy things, behaviors that they normally wouldn't exhibit in the workplace, but when they're on stage and people are like, is that real? Are they really doing that? I mean, I think that they rehearsed that or they decided ahead of time they were going to do that to kind of fool us, and I don't believe it. The reality is it is true, and if they are doing it, they probably won't even remember doing it afterwards. A lot of times they won't, because they were in a hypnotic state. But the key is that they were already in a hypnotic state before they got on stage. That's the first thing you need to know, and that's my first bullet point. 1 in 4 people, 1 out of every 4 people are hypnotized right now, whether they know it or not. You, I, anyone, 1 in 4. 25% of the population at any point in time is in a hypnotic state. Now, whether they stay in that state or not is a different story. Sometimes you and I might go in and out and in and back out of hypnotic moments, hypnotic states throughout the day based on the situation that we're specifically in. All of us are in specific states, in hypnotic states. It's trancing ourselves or being tranced by the environment. Like, let's say, for example, by an email you receive. Have you ever received an email that surprised you so much that suddenly you couldn't stop thinking about it because it affected and impacted all of these other things that's going on in your life right then? And you read the email and you're like, and you're just surprised. That's because it triggered a fight or flight or freeze in your subconscious when you read it. And as you internalize the message of the email, whatever it is, you're allowing yourself to be hypnotized by the email. And some of us will make a decision to get back out of it. Sometimes subconsciously we can go, oh, you know what? I'm just going to ignore that. We'll do a fight or flight. We'll leave, we'll ignore it, or we'll just maybe go, I don't believe it. I'm going to type something back to this person. I don't, and you react. Or you might be caught off guard and going, what do I do? How do I handle it now? And you start doing what if scenarios. What if this happens now? What if that what would I do? I don't know what to do. Like when you're in that moment where you're caught between being decisive and being uncertain because of an email, you've been put into a fight or flight, and now you've been hypnotized, and you start to also go into what's called an anxiety state too. It starts taking over your thoughts and you can't get out of it. So some of us get out of it quickly. Some of us stay in it for days or even weeks sometimes. We'll just what if it day and night. We can't sleep. We'll have insomnia. It'll affect us so much depending on what it is. Okay, so that's just one example, but there's all kinds of situations like that that happen throughout our life, and a lot of us are more susceptible to that anxiety type reaction like that than others. And so 1 in 4 people are in that state all the time. So a stage hypnotist is going to know already, their whole show is reliant on the fact that their audience, 25% of their audience are going to be in a hypnotic state during the show, and they'll be able to pull those ones up on stage, and then they'll be part of the show. They'll be part of the show at that point. So that's the first thing you need to know, and that is a real thing. The second thing, this anxiety I'm talking about, there's really not much difference between being in an anxiety state and a self-hypnotized state or a hypnotized state. Even if another hypnotist is hypnotizing you, you're in a hypnotic state. But the difference is if someone else is doing it, or you made your own hypnosis tape and you're putting on the recording and you're choosing deliberately to listen to a recording to reprogram your subconscious to stop smoking, or to be more confident in front of that presentation, in front of the audience you're doing a presentation for, let's say at work or something, or just to be more confident to get on the phone and call more prospects and not be afraid to be rejected. I'm just going to get on the phone and I want to program myself subconsciously over weeks and weeks of listening to this tape to just get on the phones and just call people, and I don't care, I'm going to do it, because maybe we're a little scared to do it. So we want to overcome our fear of getting on the phone with a stranger, let's say. Could be like that. Like if you're in a customer facing role, that might be a real thing. I want to be better at my job, but I'm always afraid to get on the phone with these strangers that are telling me no and rejecting me. So that I'm going to subconsciously reprogram myself by listening to a tape every night to just feel comfortable with getting on the phone with them. And that's the difference between self-hypnosis and anxiety. Anxiety is like, it's out of control. You can't control it. It's just controlling you. And you're just worked yourself up into this frenzy and you don't know what to do. And you're just walking around, I don't know what to do. So you're basically looking for an escape. If you're in this anxiety state, you're really wanting to get into this state because you don't mind being hypnotized. You just want to be in the nice, relaxed state and tell yourself what to do. Versus when you're in an anxiety state, you're the 1 in 4 people that have been hypnotized, and now you're anxious. You're actually looking for someone else to give you a command to help you know what to do, to help you get into this more relaxed state. In other words, if someone else gives you a command, you're highly likely, it's called being hyper-suggestible. You're hyper-suggestible to someone else giving you a command and telling you what to do, because you can't seem to tell yourself what to do. That's the difference. Versus when I'm self-hypnotizing myself, I've recorded the commands and I know which commands I'm putting into my subconscious, and I'm changing myself. I'm changing my behavior, and I'm improving my communication skills. I'm improving whatever skill that I want to improve deliberately. Versus anxiety, it's controlling me and I need someone to help me get out of it, okay? So the hypnotist on stage is looking for the 1 in 4 people that are already hypnotized, that are anxious like that are looking for an escape. Because guess what? Being on stage and doing what I tell you to do as a hypnotist is going to be your escape. That's what you're looking for. It's going to be relief. In fact, they'll feel more comfortable being on stage than they are in the audience just thinking about this thing that they can't stop thinking about, that it's just controlling their whole life and they don't know what to do about it. Okay? So that's what's happening. Now, the way the hypnotist identifies these people in order to offer them the relief, if you will, the release of getting on stage and getting out of their anxiety state more into this relaxed, self-hypnotized state, is they'll do what's called a hypnotic test. And there's different ways to do this. Different hypnotists do it different ways. But typically, if you go to one of these shows, they will do this hypnotic test. And it'll be something like this. They'll say something, for example, if you would like to be hypnotized right now or know what it's like to be hypnotized, follow along with me. If you don't have to follow along. But if you want to know how to be hypnotized, or if you are hypnotizable, if you've always been curious and you want to know right now, let's go ahead and do this test and we'll see who can be hypnotized and who's not able to be hypnotized. All right, well, are y'all game for that? And then the audience is like, yeah. And then, most people are going to be like, I'm not doing that. I don't want to be hypnotized. But guess what? The 1 in 4 people, the 25% of the people that are already hypnotized, they're like, yes, please, I want to be hypnotized. They're already hypnotized. They just don't know it, but they're agreeing. Yes, I want to do. And then the hypnotist will say, okay, if you want to follow along, imagine this arm, your left arm, I'm tying some balloons around your wrist, helium balloons, and the balloons are floating upward, and I'm tying one after the other to that wrist. And in this hand, your right hand, I'm putting a book, a very, very heavy book on this palm of your hand, and imagine that book, and I'm putting a second book and a third book, and it's getting heavier, and I'm tying another balloon and a bigger balloon, helium balloon, on this wrist, on this left wrist, and it's getting lighter and lighter. So it's pulling this wrist upwards towards the sky, and these books are weighing down this right hand, and I'm putting more books, 10 books, 20 books, hundreds of books, hundreds of thousands of helium balloons on this left wrist, and it's pulling it up, lighter and lighter, and this one's getting heavier and heavier. Well, guess what's going to happen to the people that are hypnotized? Their arms are going to go like this. They're going to just keep getting farther and farther apart, and they'll even be reacting like, whoa, like what's going on? Or they might have their eyes closed and they're just like, wow, and they just can't believe it because it's actually happening. They're feeling all these balloons, and maybe they're just like, it's getting uncomfortable for them because they're just like, like that. The hypnotist is going to spot those people, and they're going to see the people that are just reacting the most extreme to those suggestions, because the hypnotist knows they're in a hypnotic state, and by those suggestions, they're hypnotizing them even more. So they're already hypnotized. So then they'll say, okay, you, and you, if I point to you, come up on stage if you'd like to have a relief and a release from anxiety and get up here and be relaxed with me on stage. They'll say something like that, maybe to offer, make it inviting for them to release and get out of their anxiety state. And then guess what? If you're like this and you're in anxiety state, hypnotized, you're going to be like, yes, please. And then you're like running on stage. You can't wait to get on stage because it's better than what the situation you're in right now. And the hypnotist is offering a release and a relief from that state. So when they come on stage, they'll ask them one last time, if you'd like to go back to your seat, you can, or if you want to come on stage and participate and have some fun tonight, we'll make this a fun evening for you. And that alone is enough if they're in a hypnotic state to go, yes, please, I want to have fun. I don't want to think about what's going on in my life right now. I just want to have fun. And subconsciously, it's getting them out of that state of anxiety into that state of self-hypnosis. And he'll say, okay, when I snap my fingers, you go deeper into sleep, deep, deep, deep. And he'll give them that chance. And when they get that moment, they can choose to say, nope, I don't want to do it. I want to go back and sit down. Or I want to go deeper, and then they'll go deeper. And it's their choice. Subconsciously, it's their choice. If it helps them to be relaxed, they're going to do it every time. If it's not, they're not going to. He snaps his finger, she snaps his finger, whoever the hypnotist is does that, and then they're just like, nope. He'll say, okay, you can go back and sit back down. When they react like that, they're not hypnotized anymore. They've come out of it and they choose not to. He'll say, you can go back, sit back down, and go back into the audience. But the rest of them are going to be like totally like slumped over and just totally going deeper. And then he or she can give them suggestions to help them get out of that situation. And then if they choose to accept the commands, which they typically will, they'll either cluck like a chicken or talk with their shoe, all these crazy stuff. Because believe it or not, entertaining the audience and getting the laughter that they're the center of attention and everyone's giving them attention actually helps them, subconsciously helps them to not feel so bad about whatever's going on in their life before that. That attention is really what they need. People are paying attention and they're laughing at me, and they don't maybe even realize it consciously that that's what's happening. But subconsciously, unaware, if they're not even aware that that's what they need in that moment. And actually, the hypnotist is helping them in their personal life by having them on stage doing all these crazy things, believe it or not. So it is a very real thing, and that's what's happening. If you've ever been hypnotized, I would love for you to comment below in this video and just let everyone know, like, this is a real thing and it's happened to you, or you've seen someone else do it and you're like, that's crazy. I never thought that person would ever do those things. And then maybe the next time you talk to them, ask them about it. And I bet you they'll say, yeah, no, it was fun. I don't remember much of it, but I remember it was a lot of fun, or I just felt really good, because the hypnotist is helping them to escape something that they want to escape in their life. And actually being on stage and doing these crazy things is way better than whatever they had before. And the stage hypnotist knew it, looked for it, tested for it, and then gave them that relief and that opportunity to escape it right on stage, and made a show out of it and made you laugh if you were watching. I know you find value in these videos now, didn't you? And if you, like me, are in a customer-facing role, I'm wondering if you want to watch another video now designed to help you get better at what you do every day. Or not. You don't have to watch another video if you don't want to.